You're listening to the Why Boarding School podcast, broadcasting around the world. Join us as we promote independent boarding schools throughout the United States and Canada with our invited guests. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jeffrey Quebec.
Welcome to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and today I'm joined by the Chief Enrollment Manager at Choate Rosemary Hall School in Wallingford, Connecticut, Jeff Beaton. Welcome, Jeff. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks, Jeff. Awesome to be here as well.
Choate Rosemary Hall School certainly has a rich history. Founded in 1890, the present name of Choate Rosemary Hall School didn't become official until 1978 with the merger of the Choate School, which was for boys, and Rosemary Hall, which was a school for girls. Jeff, perhaps you can start off by giving our audience a brief overview of the number of students at Choate Rosemary Hall School, the grades you offer, where the students come from, etc.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, as I said. So we're a school of 860 students, which is quite deliberate. We used to be over 1,000, but we're at 860, which is great for best of both worlds, large school, small school offerings, which is fantastic. We have students coming from pretty much everywhere is the goal. We have 55 countries represented in 42 states. Right now, we're 50% boys, 50% female, and we serve grades 9 through 12th grade, but we also offer a postgraduate program for students that have that interest as well.
And Jeff, what's the academic curriculum like at Choate Rosemary Hall?
Yeah, so for us, we really think of breadth and depth of a curriculum, and we're also very deliberate in what we offer in that realm. So we have over 300 courses that we offer. So in terms of giving students as many opportunities academically, we want to make sure that students can take advantage of things in the classroom that they never thought they would be able to take advantage of. We also offer opportunities for students to dig deeper into areas. So we have students that can kind of have the breadth of a curriculum, but also give students opportunities to really dig deep into single areas of focus, which we call signature programs. And we have 8 of those on campus.
Can you talk a little bit about the Teaching and Learning Center, or the TLC, at Choate?
Yeah, so we understand that kids have different profiles coming in, have different academic strengths and weaknesses coming in, and we're trying to meet students where they are. When I think about a Choate curriculum, I also think of the word of flexibility. We want to make sure that we're giving students flexibility in terms of how are they being taught, how are they learning. So we don't do one way of teaching, first and foremost. And because of that, we have a lot of different kids with a lot of different strengths and weaknesses. So the TLC allows for students to just get some extra prep in certain areas. So it might be writing support. It could be just general organizational skills. It could be study habits, right? Studying for a math test is very different than studying for a history test, but sometimes students don't fully understand what that looks like. So the TLC can help with some of those skills. It also serves as a spot for students that do have diagnosed learning disabilities or differences, whether it's ADHD, dyslexia. We want to make sure they feel supported, but also get the allotted time in which they deserve for tests and projects in different areas like that.
Oh, that's great. And can you tell me a little bit about the visual and performing arts offerings at Choate?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have so many things. It's so funny because people always like, are you the art school or the athletic school or the academic school? I'm like, all of the above and then some.
That's awesome.
But if you are an artist, I will say it doesn't get much better than us. Not that it's all about buildings, but we actually have 2 art buildings. That's how much dedication we have towards different arts. So we have a dedicated building just for visual arts and performing arts. And then we have a dedicated building right next door that is just for orchestra, music, and dance. So the nice thing is that there's no overlapping of spaces. Every part of our arts program has its own space, which is great. And then the offerings, what we're able to offer because of the spaces that we have are incredible. So it can be both in the academic realm, so you'll be taking art courses throughout the academic day, but we also have obviously clubs. We have 125 clubs. We have many arts-based clubs, And then, of course, we have a lot of after-school programming, whether that's in visual arts, performing arts, dance program, orchestra, string quartets, 7 a cappella groups. You name it, we have it in the arts program. So,
Oh, that's wonderful. It's awesome to have so much opportunity for the students there in the arts.
yeah.
So I know you referenced it earlier. What are some of the special signature programs that are offered at Choate?
Yeah, so these have changed with not every year, but they've changed based on student interest of what they're excited by, but also what might be happening in education or in the world. So I say that first and foremost because we are always a school that's going to innovate, that's going to change, that's going to evolve for the benefit of the student experience. And these signature programs really are for the benefit of some students that have these specific interests. So we have 8 signature programs. We have our arts concentration program, our JFK program for public policy and public service, our science research program, our environmental immersion program at the Calder Environmental Center. We have a capstone program. We have a advanced robotics program. And we have our Arabic and Middle Eastern Studies program. And lastly, our advanced robotics concentration. So I think I got all 8.
That's good. Yeah, I remember all 8.
I'm pretty proud of myself there. But again, these are chances for students, not all students, only ones that are interested in doing one, to just dig into a certain area of focus while also taking other courses at Choate. Some of them have opportunities for internships. A lot of them are project-based learning at the heart of it. But all of them are very interdisciplinary at the heart of what they are. So you're learning a single area of focus, but from many different perspectives throughout that year or year and a half.
So Jeff, how about athletics at Choate? Is every student required to play a sport each season? And also, what are some of the athletic offerings you have?
So I'll start with, it's not requirement for students to play a sport every term. That's something that we have really thought deeply about over the past 5 or 6 years. There used to be the requirement. Now we don't. What we do ask for is that students are taking part in something after school from 3:30 to 5:30. So that could be a sport, and that can range from a thirds program or our freshman teams, our JV programs, our varsity programs. We also have a lot of intramural sports. So for students that had never played squash before, they had an opportunity to learn that sport before deciding, do they want to play on one of the interscholastic teams? But we also count other things as sports now. So if you're in the dance program, you could do dance after school instead. If you want to do theater, you could be doing that, community service. So we just want kids to be together, that's organized, from 3:30 to 5:30. In terms of the sports offerings, I always say, you name it, we probably have it, except if you like to ride horses. That's the one thing that we do not have is equestrian on this campus. But I mean, we have archery program that a lot of schools don't have. We have boys volleyball, which is not very heard of for New England boarding schools. And then we also have your larger teams, right? Football and basketball and lacrosse and tennis and all the things in between. But what I love about our program, which is very, I would say unique to boarding schools, is that there's a place for everybody, whether you've played a sport, haven't played a sport, are going to go play Division I, or not going to play at all in college, but there's a time and place for all of our students to be part of a team, which I think is really important for this process.
I totally agree. I like the idea that not only is there a lot of sports and offerings, but also different levels within those sports.
For sure. Yeah.
Great. So what we're going to do, Jeff, is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation talking about Choate Rosemary Hall School in Wallingford, Connecticut.
Do you have any questions or guests that you'd like to see on an upcoming Why Boarding School podcast? You can contact us directly through our website at whyboardingschool.com. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and I'm joined by the Chief Enrollment Manager at Choate Rosemary Hall School in Wallingford, Connecticut, Jeff Beaton. And Jeff, as we continue our conversation, can you share with our audience what is a typical school day like at Choate?
Yeah, it's a mixture of busyness, balance, engagement, fun, and challenge, all in the same day. I think that's boarding school in a nutshell, which is why you might choose to do boarding school. I say that because the students that come to a place like Choate and come to boarding school, I would say in general, are kids that want more. They want more opportunity, as we talked about before. They want an experience where everything is at their fingertips, which I think is so unique to a place like Choate. But also want to be a place where they can be challenged and pushed and being able to step outside their comfort zone. And I think that's what our schedule allows for our students to have. So a typical day at Choate, classes start around 8:15 and they go to about 3:30. We are on a block schedule, so you are going to have at least 1 or 2 free blocks during the day to get some work done, meet with the teacher, be in our student center, get a workout in, play a musical instrument. You can use your time how you want to use your time, but there's you're not going from class to class to class every single day, which is really nice. There are built-in conference blocks to meet with your teachers. We have school meetings during the week to build community. We have a built-in advising block to make sure you have that connection with your advisor. So there's a lot happening throughout that 8:15 to 3:30 time of the day. I will mention we are a no Saturday school. That's a big thing for us. So we got rid of Saturday classes around 16 years ago. We believe in our kids working hard during the week, but on a Friday night, not stressing about a math test and getting up in the morning and taking that math test and then having 3 more classes. We believe in sleep. So our students are sleeping in on a Saturday morning, which I think is really, really important. In the school week as well, 3:30 to 5:30 is after school activities that all students have to be a part of. Then they have some free time from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. That's when orchestra will meet if you're in the orchestra, if you're in a musical ensemble, if you're part of one of our 125 clubs. Sometimes they're going to meet during that time. And then us at Choate, we still have a mandatory study hall for our first-year students, second-year students, and third-year students. So from 8 to 10:30, we have designated study hall to get your homework done and be with other students and be engaged in your academics. And then getting to bed by 11 o'clock is very important as well for kids. So it's a busy time, but again, everything is at your fingertips, which is quite unique.
Great. And so what are the weekends like at Choate? Are they events on campus, maybe different activities or clubs meeting, or perhaps trips off campus?
It's a really great question. I'll first lead with location matters. And we are very lucky in terms of our location. We always say that we are in the middle of somewhere. We have a Starbucks in town, so you know that you are somewhere when Starbucks is in town. We're in a town, so we have restaurants, movie theaters, bowling alleys, indoor golf simulator place. We're 15 minutes from New Haven, where Yale University is. So students will take advantage of the local area because a lot of it is walkable on a weekend for sure. But so much of your social life, and I would argue this is for every boarding school, is the boarding schools are the center of social life, which is a unique experience for high school students. No longer is it, am I trying to find my, where does my friend live and what movie theater am I getting picked up on and whose house am I going to after? Everything just comes together on one campus. So we have things happening every single weekend through our Dean of Students office. We have 2 people on campus that are mainly there for student fun. So dances and hypnotists and movie nights and concerts and festival weekends. Athletic contests are big. Theater productions are big in a weekend. There's always something on a Friday night, Saturday during the day, Saturday night, Sunday, to make sure that our kids are staying involved and busy and engaged with things that they want to be engaged in.
Nice. So certainly it sounds like very student-centered.
Very much so.
And so, Jeff, what are the meals like at Choate? Are they served sit-down? Are they buffet? Are they required? How does that work?
Good question. We do not have required sit-down meals anymore at Choate. So I go back to that word flexibility. We are all about flexibility, making sure that our food options for every single meal that meet the needs of our students. And that every student's a little bit different when it comes to allergies or just likes and dislikes. So we kind of have an open dining experience for our students. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is obviously served on campus, but you can go for 10 minutes, you can go for an hour, depending on what your schedule looks like. We just want you to be with your friends, be with your peers, be with your teachers, all in one space. We have an incredible dining hall that fits our school community. We're actually redoing right now our servery, so that'll be open in April. More expansive, less time in lines, and more food options in general. So I would say food plays a huge role at any boarding school, and Choate is no different. That food is important for social life, for balance, for health. And then we also have options on campus. We have our own cafe. I kind of call it Starbucks of Choate on campus. And then we also have another thing in our student center that is kind of like our grill station of all the unhealthy foods that you can think of as well.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. And certainly food is, as you mentioned, it's a big part of a student's experience.
huge part.
So how about dorm life? What's dorm life like at Choate?
Yeah, I always say that, and I'm a product of boarding school myself, like dorm life is where like the heart of the school is. And I don't care what boarding school you look at. Dorm and residential life is just so important. And that's where the magic happens in terms of how you grow, how you develop, how you learn from different experiences and people's backgrounds. Yes, the academic program is so important, but every school is gonna have great academics. To me, it's what happens on those off hours. So much of your learning happens by just those interactions when you're in the dorm, in the common room, eating late night food, having a dorm meeting, celebrating a birthday, the ups and the downs and the challenges and successes. So much of it happens in the dorm. So I always try to, for families that don't understand boarding school and having them picture it, I want them to picture summer camp, which a lot of students have done before. It's fun, it's community-based, it's collaborative with homework, right? So it's summer camp with homework. That's how you can kind of picture residential life. I will add, and just a side about Choate specifically, every school is going to do residential life a little bit different, and you should be thinking about how those can impact your experience. We are very deliberate. We do freshman-only housing. We believe there's a big difference between a 14-year-old in terms of confidence, maturity, comfortability, and an 18-year-old. So we do freshman-only housing, sophomore, junior housing, and then senior-only housing, because seniors, they're on their different path, they have their different expectations, and they're ready to launch into college a year later.
So, Jeff, is there an advisor system at Choate?
We do.
Can you explain to us how that works?
Yeah, so advising, again, big part of boarding schools in general. Every school will think about it in different ways. For us, you will have the same advisor for your entire Choate experience. Mostly for consistency, so that student has that go-to person throughout their time, but also for the parents and guardians that they had that consistent person in their life that they can go to, understand, feel connected with, and then also feel connected with the school. We are very deliberate that our advising system cannot be larger than 6 students. And that's really, really impressive for a school of 860 students, that there's still this way to keep the school small in pockets. And we do that through our advising system. And we, I guess I mentioned before, we have an advising block. So every Thursday afternoon before sports or after school activities start, we have an hour advising block as a group. And then you'll have individual meetings throughout the week with your advisor as well.
And so with such small advisee groups, and then of course staying with your advisor through your tenure of your time at Choate, I'm sure those bonds become quite strong by the time you graduate.
Very much so. And I think that's a beautiful thing about boarding school too, is that you have people that, I always say, you have adults that live where they work and live with teenagers. And there is no other job in this world that does both of those things, but we do it. And I know Jeff did it for a long time because we want to see kids transform. We want to see them develop and grow and be the best versions of themselves. So those connections are so important for that growth. I will also add, you're going to have people in your life at these boarding schools outside of the advisor that are also going to be a big part of your life, whether it's your coach, your theater teacher, you loved your English class, and now your English teacher is your go-to person. There's just a lot of people that care about you and want the best for you.
Yeah, well said. And so, Jeff, would you say, is there a typical Choate student?
Ooh. You know, I get this question a lot, and
Okay.
I actually don't think so. And that's honestly what's kept me at Choate for 12 years, is we just have a lot of different kinds of kids here. And we're not looking to like put a kid in a box and say, this is the only way to do Choate. So because of that, I think we this attract many different kinds of kids. I mean, my goal ultimately as the chief enrollment manager is to build a community, but to build a community of difference. And I mean that in all ways, right? Different perspectives, backgrounds, values, where you live, how you grew up, and to all come onto one campus and be together and build this really cool bond and community. So is there one type of Choate kid? No. I will say, though, that the kids that do well here, that are attracted to us, are kids that want to be engaged, that truly want to engage in the passions they have right now, but also in things that they never thought they would ever do, first and foremost, that are excited by a challenge, that are self-advocates, that aren't afraid to ask for help when they need it. And then I would also just add, this is really important that I talk about at every event that I do for admission, kids that can find joy and humor. I really do believe in that. Like these schools, you got to work hard. You got to be challenged, but you have to be a kid, have some fun, laugh at yourself, be with your friends. So I think joy and humor is definitely something that I look for in this process.
And you're only young once, right?
You are only young once, and it goes by really fast. So,
so are there any cool traditions at Choate that may be unique from other schools? Or perhaps there's that one tradition, Jeff, that you hope always remains part of the school?
Yeah. Can I say two?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One is an academic tradition, which I know is like really academic, but physics is the class that every first-year student takes. I will say it's usually the tough one for whether you're great at science or not. It's usually the one that kind of kicks your butt a little bit, which is a good thing in the freshman year. But at the end of that experience, you work with yourself and two other students in your class, and you had to build a boat made out of cardboard. You got scissors and tape, and then you can like paint it and make it cool. So it's this collaborative project. You build this boat, and then the last day of the trimester, it's springtime, it's good weather. One person on that team has to get in that boat, and they have to paddle from one end of our pond to the other end. So it's like big competition between all the first year boats, and the entire school is around the pond. There's like usually a senior who's like the MC, and it's like most boats fail. You do not want to be in that water. It's just like this like fun culminating all school academic tradition. So I love that one.
Hopefully there's a lifeguard out there too.
And there's a lifeguard. Yep. And I just love it because it's like, that's what Choate is, right? It's academically driven, but like, let's have some fun at the same time while learning. The one that I hope they'd never get rid of, and I don't think they ever will, is matriculation. And I think a lot of schools have a similar thing. So the first night of Choate, when you come and you're a new student, we have a big dinner. It's all of our first year students, prefects, faculty members, and then everyone goes after that dinner into our chapel. We're non-denominational, but we do have a chapel on campus. So it's kind of a meaning to that spot. And one by one, students have to get in line, and they go up to the front. They introduce themselves to the head of school and our head of student and academic life. They shake their hands, and they sign the Choate Pledge. And that pledge is really about living up to our values as a school, and our values are respect, compassion, and integrity. And we really live by those every single day. But what this pledge is also saying is that you'll live by those for the rest of your life, because you're part of the Choate community forever. So this is kind of like momentous moment, this moment that's bigger than themselves. And I guess for me, as someone that brought this community with my team together, to see those 240 students go one by one and embark on this experience and this journey, knowing that there's going to be some great times and some bumpy times, but they're going to get through it. It just, this really cool feeling for myself, for my team, and also for the students. And I love it too, because it's a bookmark where they shake the head of school's hand to start their experience. And then 4 years later at commencement, the last thing they do is get their diploma and shake his hand again. So I get sentimental a lot. So I love that tradition.
It certainly seems like a powerful experience. I like the idea how they sort of come full circle with that handshake at the end. Very nice.
Yeah, it's great.
So, Jeff, before we speak about admissions, is there anything about Choate Rosemary Hall School that we didn't discuss today that you'd like to mention?
I would just mention, every school is different. And I'm the first to say that every school is great. And it's all about finding the school that fits you well and that you're excited by, whether it's programs or culture or offerings. There's a school out there for everybody. And I think I'm just a big proponent of boarding school in general. Something to know about us, though, in terms of our culture, and again, something that's kept me at Choate for quite some time, is that we are definitely a school that's not afraid to take chances and not afraid to change and evolve. When you think of that word innovative, I think that we actually live up to that word innovation in a forward-thinking approach to education. So if you're looking for a school that's going to be stagnant for all 4 years, we actually may not be the best fit, because we are going to be a school that says, like, how can we do better? And how can we change, not just to do it, but to do it for the benefit of the student experience. And the students that come to Choate right now are vastly different than they were 10 years ago. Education is changing, circumstances have changed, the world has changed. If that's happening, then the school needs to be doing that. And I think that we do a really good job of moving and evolving as a school. So,
Jeff, if someone's interested in Choate, how might they go about starting the admissions process?
Yeah. My goal is to be as accessible as possible, because boarding schools still are an unknown for most families. That this is not a given. This is not something that people think about all the time. It kind of goes against normal culture to be like, oh yes, I'm going to send my kid 13 away from me. So it takes a special kid and a special family to do that. And we want to make sure that we are reaching as many families as possible. So we do a lot of outreach even before you would do an inquiry. So we were doing online events. We do in-person recruitment events. We do podcasts like this to spread the word about boarding schools. So thank you, Jeff, for putting it together. But once you start thinking like, okay, like, I think I could do this, like, I'm interested, the very basic step, and it's simple, it takes you 3 minutes, is to do our online inquiry form. You're not signing up for Choate by doing that. You're just giving us some basic information so we can start getting you into our communication plan and getting you signed up for different experiences like Choate-specific events, on-campus opportunities, interview opportunities, and then we will help you step by step as to how do you apply for this school, what makes us unique when you are thinking about applying, and making sure that you feel the most comfortable with the process.
And Jeff, what is Choate's website address?
We are www.choate.edu.
Easy enough, choate.edu. Awesome. Well, yeah. Jeff, this has been great. I've enjoyed our conversation, certainly learning more about Choate Rosemary Hall School, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Jeff Beaton, Chief Enrollment Manager at Choate Rosemary Hall School in Wallingford, Connecticut.
Thank you for listening to the Why Boarding School podcast. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode. Please remember to subscribe to the Why Boarding School podcast and help us spread the word. Until next time.